Bullshit.
This is going to be the 5-minute Impact review. Just a bad show, I guess.
It's a 5-second Impact review.
It was just an Impact show. It wasn't horrible. Wasn't really any good.
It was
glaring plot holes as always. Angle and the Mafia came out with Sting.
I think every episode of this show now starts with Kurt Angle and the Mafia coming out.
Of course. So Angle cut a promo on Foley saying he would be in the main event at Sacrifice fighting for the belt. He was asked what he was going to give up, and he said he made Jarrett an offer he couldn't refuse. If he got pinned, whoever pinned him would become the new leader of the Mafia. So, we're starting out already. What fucking sense does that make?
None.
So, if Jeff Jarrett pins Angle, he's forced to be the leader of the Mafia that he hates?
I'm more in thinking that Kevin Nash and Booker T are forced to do whatever Jeff Jarrett says.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
What if Jarrett doesn't want to be in charge of the Mafia?
Too bad.
It gets even worse. I'm just going to jump ahead to the end of the show. The end of the show is a tag team match. It's Joe, Jarrett, AJ, Foley, and Daniels against Nash, Steiner, Booker, Angle, and Sting in a 10-man tag. And Sting had made a deal with Foley, and he said, if I pin Foley in this match, who do you make a deal with? Jarrett. If I pin Foley in this match, you have to put me in the 4-way title match at the pay-per-view. Jarrett said, okay. But then Jarrett said, but you've got to sacrifice something. Now, first off, who came up with this ultimate sacrifice match?
They did last week.
But who came up with the idea?
Oh, Jarrett and Foley?
Jarrett and Foley both?
Jarrett explained it to Foley, as I recall. It was 2 weeks ago.
I'm still trying to figure out why everybody has to sacrifice something.
Apparently because it's the name of the show.
But it makes no sense to me. But let's just pass on that. Let's say that there's a reason everybody has to sacrifice something. So anyway, they have this match, not all that good, especially at the end where
it completely fell apart.
Oh Christ, I guess I got to go back even farther. Earlier on in the show, Foley, who is teaming with Jarrett, tells Borash to go tell Jarrett that he cannot bring his baseball bat or his guitar to the ring. Why is Foley telling one of his teammates he cannot bring a weapon, first off? Aren't they supposed to be teammates?
Well, they hate each other.
Okay, so fine. So, then they go to Jeff Jarrett, and Borash tells him, and Borash is like, what are you going to do? Now, first off, what do you mean, what are you going to do? You can't bring a goddamn guitar to the ring, and this is like a problem?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jarrett, who is a babyface, starts freaking out.
Right.
Like, what am I supposed to do?
He's not allowed to use a weapon.
As a babyface, what the fuck are you supposed to do when you can't bring a fucking guitar to the ring?
Grapple?
You fucking wrestle and out-wrestle a guy and beat him like the better man. No, Jarrett's having a fucking conniption fit because he can't bring his fucking guitar to the ring. So they go to the match and start doing I guess Jarrett made the big comeback or somebody did.
No, Foley did.
Foley did.
Foley did. It was funny because the crowd saw through Foley's bullshit in the show, and they knew he was an evil man pretending to be
good.
Now,
hold on. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. I'm just trying to get to the main point, but I have to get to this part.
All right, fine.
So anyway, they have this match. It breaks down into a 10-man. Foley brings out a barbed wire bat. Yes, Jarrett can't bring a guitar, but Foley can bring a barbed wire bat. So they get into a little argument, and Jarrett gives Foley a stroke onto the barbed wire bat. He then gives Angle a stroke, which, by the way, what was Jarrett so worried about if he's beating up two men single-handedly here? But that's beside the point again. So then Sting jumps on Foley and pins him. The announcers go, the heels, they didn't say the heels, but they just said that they stole the win. How did they steal the win? They didn't steal the win. Jarrett turned on his fucking partner because the babyfaces can't get along like complete dipshits, and Sting took advantage of it. How is that stealing the win? So, anyway, to get back to my final point here, Sting pins Foley. Now Sting is in the match at the pay-per-view. But, as Jarrett said, you've got to sacrifice something. Now, because these people have no fucking idea what they're doing, because nothing they do makes sense, this isn't a match where a guy gets in, but somebody else has to choose what he sacrifices. No. everybody chooses what they have to sacrifice. This is not like if there was a match and you and me were able to be involved. But in order for you to get into the match, I had to choose something you had to sacrifice if you lost, and vice versa. Therefore, if I were going to be in the match, I would have to say, all right, Vince, I'll be in the match. Fine, you can choose some sort of what do I have to sacrifice, Vince, in order to get in this match? And you'd say something like, you've got to put your hair on the line.
Sure.
I'd say, fine. And then I'd say, all right, Vince, you can be in the match, but if you're in the match, you cannot eat any pork rinds for a year.
No!
Exactly. And you'd be like, oh, shit. Well, fine, the match is worth it. No. In TNA, these people are so fucking stupid that the stipulation is the guys that are in the match choose what they want to sacrifice to get in. So, if you're Sting, and this were real, would you not just say,
a $5 bill.
I'll put my face paint on the line. If I don't win this match, I will not wear my face paint for a year. Something like that. No, Sting, the fucking dumb shit, goes, I'll put my career on the line. Why in the fuck would you do that?
Don't know.
If you have to sacrifice something, and it's completely up to you, this is like, what is it, Lent?
Yeah.
You give something up for 60 days. Okay? Nobody goes, I'm going to give up pissing for 60 days.
You don't know that.
Chances are my life will end. Okay? My insides will be poisoned, or my bladder will explode, or I'll piss my pants in a public place and be humiliated. No one does that. They're like, I will give up,
alcohol.
No, fuck no. People don't even do shit like that. They're like, I'll give up alcohol on Thursdays.
I see.
Until Lent is over.
And then it's back to drinking on Thursday.
Then it's back to drinking like a madman again. So, I just don't understand. This is so stupid. These are all ideas where you could make them work. If you just used a brain, like a competent brain. Like a competent brain could go through the show and make all this shit work. But of course, the brain in charge is so fucking incompetent that nothing on this show makes sense. Now let's go back to the beginning of this program. I don't even know how I got into this whole role. But anyway, Angle says, here's what I'll give up. I'll give up being the leader of the Mafia. If I get pinned, I will give up the leadership of this Mafia to whoever pins me. Again, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just say, I'm bald, that's why I shave my head. If I lose, I'll grow my hair out and just look goofy. Why don't you do something like that? Or something even less? I will pawn off this pair of boots on eBay and give the money to charity. Why do you make a fucking sacrifice like that? God, this sucked. So much for the 5-minute review.
Gone like 6, haven't we?
We had a mystery man drop off Joe. The blonde tried to find out who it was. 3 seconds, this was over.
Yeah.
If I had not written that down, I would have completely forgotten.
It accomplished nothing except wasted time. The opening promo, eventually Foley and Daniels came out, and Foley talked for a while, and Daniels stood there like a dumb shit. And then Jarrett and AJ came out, and Jarrett talked, and AJ stood there like a dumb shit. And I had no idea what they're doing out there other than to look dumb. They do that a lot on this show.
We had a replay of the Machine Guns accusing Daniels of being suicide. Oh, here we go. This I've been waiting to talk about since I saw it. Last week, as noted and as shown on the replay, the Machine Guns came out and accused Chris Daniels of being suicide. They said, you have a distinctive ass. You wrestle a certain way. The fans chant suicide. We've never seen you in the same place at the same time. It's very obvious, Chris Daniels, that you are suicide. And he responded by beating him up or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So now, the storyline on Impact is that suicide is Chris Daniels. We're supposed to believe that suicide is Chris Daniels. Because, of course, obviously this is leading to, eventually, suicide and Chris Daniels are seen in the same place at the same time. So, anybody with an IQ above about 75 would know how you have to do this angle. It is very simple. If the angle is that everybody is supposed to know that suicide is Chris Daniels, so that they can all be surprised when Chris Daniels and suicide show up together, to make this work, suicide has to be Chris Daniels.
You would think.
So the fans see the big ass, they see the same moves, they see them not at the same place at the same time, they know the fans chant his name, That is how you convince people that the fucking guy is Chris Daniels.
By having him be Chris Daniels.
By having him be fucking Chris Daniels. So then when Chris Daniels and Suicide are together, you're like, oh shit, we were wrong. No. What do these dumb fucking assholes do? They put somebody else under the Suicide costume.
Yeah.
This guy comes out. We're supposed to believe it's Chris Daniels. The announcers are telling us it's Chris Daniels. He's doing moves that Chris Daniels does, but it's so fucking obviously not Chris Daniels that it just killed the entire angle. I just was like baffled. This is so easy.
Yeah.
Have it be fucking Daniels.
No.
So we all look at it and go, hey, you know what? They're right. That's Chris Daniels, for Christ's sake. No. They actually put someone else under the fucking hood.
Yes,
I was just amazed.
I don't know who it was. The fans are totally not fooled.
No, there's no heat for this match. It was like they all realized that ain't fucking Suicide.
There was zero heat for it. I don't know if it was Kaz, but whoever it was, there was a mild Frankie chance, but other than that, no one cared. And whoever it was sure as hell not Chris Daniels because he sucked.
They killed their own storyline because they're so fucking dumb. God, this was amazing. Then we had Morgan meeting with Foley. He wants to be in the Main Event Mafia. So he asked for a match. Foley suggested you take out the Mafia's fat security guards. This sounds like a poor plan.
And so then Morgan leaves, and
Morgan goes for it.
What's that?
Morgan goes for it. He's like, okay, fine, choose one of them.
Yes, so that's supposed to impress the Main Event Mafia. Boras points out the other lunacy in this, which is that Mick Foley hates the Main Event Mafia and wants to kill them. Now he is apparently helping this 7-foot monster get a job with him. So Morgan went to Foley, saying basically, help me get a job with these guys so I can help them kill you.
Yeah.
Yes. And Foley said, okay.
I'll tweak the match.
Sure. I'll put in 2 fat guys.
Velvet was freaking out because she had a stretcher match with Kong later, and last week Kong had killed Madison in the same kind of match. She's going to pounce on me, Velvet said, like a carcass. I love that woman.
I don't know.
Today interviewed Angle and the rest of the Mafia.
Yeah, 14 men had a sit-down interview.
I don't know. It's just one of those stupid things where they got to waste time with some sort of angle or some sort of interview.
I would much rather watch a pointless wrestling match than a pointless wrestling interview.
Well, we got an interview.
There was the only notable thing here was every guy had one line, and Sting's line was saying, our goals are still the same. It's all about the gold. And I thought, what about the respect that you founded this group on? That goal is not the same then. Your goal has changed.
The blonde interviewed Taylor Wilde.
This was stupid.
And so the blonde's trying to interview her, and all of a sudden Taylor starts talking about a secret admirer she has. And she's explaining this person, and he's coming off like a complete stalker. And she's trying to explain that he's actually a really cool guy. But then she asks the blonde to go with her to make sure he's not a creep. Now, keep in mind, this all was discussed on national television.
Yeah.
They were going to interview her about something, and she just started talking about her personal life.
She started talking
The blonde interviewer got involved with this personal life talk, and then they just walked off screen.
Just put on the TV.
Imagine something like this happening on, say, a football game.
Not likely.
Never.
But it was, yeah, and the behavior she was describing, it was a guy she didn't know, but he was sending her text messages and emails and stuff, and it was stalker behavior. This is what stalkers do. But she thought it was cute. She's dumb.
I want you all to watch the replay of this show so that you can witness Matt Morgan and both fat security guards. First off, I have no idea what Morgan's music is. It's horrible. Please get new music. Second off, they're supposed to be security guards. Just heavy guys that are extra bodies to grab somebody that tries to cause trouble with the Mafia. So instead, they just are doing a pro wrestling match. And a bad one. Because the fat guys are very green, and Morgan has never improved in the ring for some reason. Well, because he never works. So they have this horrendous match. I mean, literally one of the worst matches I've seen in all of 2009. They actually got the fucking heat on Matt Morgan. He made a comeback. He threw a drop kick for no reason except to show that he can't do a drop kick. That one flew outside. He kicked the other guy, pinned him. Ungodly, horrible match.
It was amazing because Morgan's whole gimmick is that he's big and giant and strong, and so they booked him with a giant fat guy he couldn't lift. But then he was dumb enough to try anyway. So he tried to hit a Beal on this giant fat man. It looked horrible. He chokeslammed the giant fat man. It looked horrible. Then he went aerial. He couldn't do that either. This was career sabotage.
It was horrible.
Someone went to ruin Matt Morgan's career with this match, and they succeeded.
We had another segment with Foley and Borash, where Foley said, you can't bring the guitar, tell Jarrett. Then we had Borash try to interview Jarrett, but Jarrett kicked him out of the locker room and told him to leave. And so, of course, 20 minutes later, JV's back in there, trying to ask him the same stupid fucking question.
I get so sick. Why do we need 19 separate appearances by any one person on any show?
Because they are paying them. I don't know. We had the Blonde interviewing Eric Young and Jethro Holliday, who said they were going to win tonight and go to the finals of the Team 3D Invitational. They did not win. They lost to Beer Money. We had Team 3D there as commentators. They fucking actually brought up Jim Ross by name when talking about Ross's commentary, where he said that tag team wrestling was a thing of the past, and so Team 3D buried him. At least they didn't come on the air and say that, you know, the unified tag team champions in WWE are the best in the world. But hey, we're number 2. At least they didn't do that.
Yeah, that's how low your standards have fallen.
Yeah, I actually thought they might say something like that.
You're right. That would have been worse, saying that they would love to meet a great team like the Colons or whatever, but that would have been worse. But it still came off as just something so pathetically low rent.
So Beer Money's in the finals. They'll face the winner of Red and Suicide versus British Invasion apparently next week. Raish and Kong did a promo where Kong actually spoke. Dumb blonde, dead blonde, she said. Should have not spoken.
I think your delivery was better.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just screamed these words, and it took me a second to realize, oh, she's saying the dumb blonde is going to be a dead blonde. I understand now.
We had Velvet Sky's tits against Awesome Kong. Velvet was so nervous she could not hump the rope coming down to the ring, so this was useless. And they were supposed to play this up like Kong just destroyed this girl, and she did, and I guess it was supposed to be somewhat serious, but all through the commentary, Don West is saying, like, first he said, Kong hit the implant buster. Beautiful implants, too, by the way. Then she hit second and a third, and Don said, she's not going to have any implants left if this keeps up. Then she hit a fourth and the fifth, and Don's like, I don't know what the record is for implant busters. Like there's a record book. Kong hit 8 implant busters in a row on so-and-so on such and such a date. So she finally put her on the stretcher. Stretcher matches here. Don't even ask for the stupid rules. But then pulled her off and hit a power bomb and put her back on, and Velvet was killed. They'd kicked Raisha and Angelina away from ringside, which begged the question, why didn't Angelina just run back down for the DQ and save her partner?
I don't know. It also begged the question of, when Angelina and Raisha were kicked out, it's the exact same thing they did last week. Mike and Don apparently forgot because they couldn't fathom, why is this being done? What's happening? I don't understand. And then a second later, TNA mentioned, well, they did do it last week. And I almost thought, are they introducing earpieces on the show now? Did Terry Taylor just yell at them, hey, this happened last week, you morons?
God, I hope so. I hope Russo's back there yelling at them. By the way, I will praise TNA in that the build for Kong and Angelina is very good. It's very simple. It is Kong is killing her entourage one at a time, and it's finally going to come down to Angelina for the title, and we'll see what happens. So that's good. We had Abyss with Dr. Stevie. Daffney walked in, and Stevie wanted Abyss to transfer his aggression to Daffney. Fuck her, I thought. And he said at the pay-per-view, Daffney would be the first ever Knockouts Monster Ball, and he wanted Abyss to mentor her and be in her corner.
I am still boycotting these segments. I sit through them. I pay as little attention as possible. I don't write anything down, and I sure as hell do not discuss them.
Lethal and Creed came out and called out Daniels. They accused him of being suicide. And, of course, once again, this fell completely flat because Suicide had wrestled earlier and was so clearly not Christopher Daniels. So they did their little deal right here. And Daniels said if Creed worried more about beating Suicide, he wouldn't have gotten his ass kicked earlier. Told him to get his head on straight. Lethal, meanwhile, was doing comedy this entire time. And Daniels said he didn't have time for jokes. Right now, Lethal was the biggest joke in TNA. Lethal slapped him. And then the Machine Guns came out and said next week they were going to unmask Suicide and expose him as Daniels. And also give the people what they wanted, tickets to the gun show. All right. It's a fine little catchphrase, I guess.
Sure. It works for them because their whole gimmick is that they're twerps and dorks and annoying guys. But as a segment, this was fine. We have more important things to complain about on the show.
We had the Blonde. I just yawned there. I am reviewing TNA. What do you expect? The Blonde interviewed Angelina, who's freaking about how Kong had literally killed all her friends. Literally killed. And someone called her, and she was screaming at this person to please be there for next week, and she didn't care about Spike's ban on man-on-women violence. All I can presume is it's cute Kip making his return.
I hope so.
I have no idea, but we were supposed to care, but they immediately cut away, and thus it was impossible.
There's also a point here, I think we discussed it earlier, it's one of the many Jarrett segments, but Boris walked in from Jarrett and said, Jeff, I got some notes for you. And he began to go over these notes about things Foley had done, and I just thought, what is the point of this? I'm tired of seeing these two men on my TV.
And we had the main event. Mm-hmm. So go for it.
All right, we had the 10-man tag. Kevin Nash, Booker T, Scott Steiner, Kurt Angle, and Sting versus Jeff Jarrett, Mick Foley, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Chris Daniels. Samoa Joe, I don't know if they're new pants or if he just started tucking them into his boots, but it is a vast improvement. He no longer looks like a giant tub of goo. He now just looks like your typical average fat guy, which is a huge improvement. Oh, they got the heat. They got the heat on AJ. They're working him over. It was fine. It was amusing watching the baby faces at the beginning. They were running wild, and they would tag a guy in and do this wacky, complicated, elaborate double team. And then when the Mafia got the heat on AJ, and they would do a double team, and all these guys have been wrestling for 20 years, whatever, and they would do a tag, and Sting would hold AJ open, and Kurt would kick him. Then they just keep wrestling. Just keep it simple, everyone. Keep it simple. So anyway, Mick Foley is a heel who acts like a babyface and tries to associate himself with the babyfaces, especially...
I was actually going to ask if I missed something. I know I didn't see the show last week, but every time I see this fucking show, Foley is the opposite of what he was the week before. Like I could have sworn he was a heel the last time I watched this show.
Well,
then he came out at the beginning of the show and was like a huge babyface.
Right.
What the fuck is he? Why should I care?
That's the kid thing. I don't know if they want him to just be crazy, but it's one of two things. Either he is a heel who pretends he's a babyface, or he's a crazy guy who switches so often the crowd does not get into him. Either way, it's bad. So, he got the hot tag here, and people went, boo. That's about it. He wrestled for a while. They get guys do some stuff. Kevin Nash remains horrible, although he did manage to, Joe hit him with a tope and did not die, so at least he did that part right. And then they did an ending that involved, we talked about it earlier, but involved Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, Sting, Mick Foley, and a barbed wire baseball bat. It was way too elaborate and complicated to keep track of. Brian had to, as he was typing, rewind a couple times to note what had happened now. That's bad. And when it was done, Sting had won. And I just remember earlier he was asking, hey, Jeff, if I pin Mick Foley tonight, can I be in the main event at Sacrifice? Why didn't he just say, can I be in the main event at Sacrifice, regardless of what he does in this evening? They need a fourth guy. He never got his rematch for losing the title. Why did he put the onus on, if I beat Foley, can I get the main event at Sacrifice? But he did beat Foley. He's in the main event at Sacrifice. He cut his little promo announcing that he was willing to retire if he lost this match. And then he left the ring, his music played, and they put a sole spotlight on the barbed wire baseball bat in what I suppose is supposed to be a dramatic moment.
Yeah, wow. Why didn't he just sacrifice his baseball bat? If I lose, I won't use my bat for a year.
I'll dump the stupid purple coat.
Why even put a time limit on it? Why don't you say, if I don't win, I'll stand on my head for 10 minutes?
Sure.
Who cares?
If I don't win, I will do a little dance.
Yeah. Retarded. I'm done with this show. To the back!
I don't want to talk about this show. Can we just say it sucked and leave?
What was that Impact song that I had?
Do you know Bai's anthem?
That's a good one, too, but I think Cotrere may have made a good one here. Let me see what we've got by Cotrere.
You know the show sucks when you find anything else to talk about to postpone the discussion.
Cotrere. God, I know we've got some Impact suck songs here. I got a lot of TNA to the back type songs. I just want a song that just buries TNA.
Isn't one about the worst show in the world?
I don't know where they're all at. Let me look a little farther. Really, again, anything just to avoid talking about this horrendous program. I mean, this program is just, it is a level of, well, we've said it all before. Why do I even get started?
That's what I'm saying. Usually I want to review it because at least then reviewing it means there was a point to my watching it. Today I don't care. The time is lost. I can't get that time back. The best thing to do is preserve the time I have now by not talking about it.
Well, I can't find a good Impact song, so I guess we'll just get started. And as you rant and rave, I will try to find one because I refuse to quit. I refuse to quit. So Impact opened up. Oh God.
The first segment was the Impact one.
Let me tell you something. I hate this show so much that I'm going to review it. I know that sounds strange.
No, not at all.
But if I just decided not to review this show, I would have watched it in vain.
That's what I just said.
If I have to watch this show, I may as well just bury it as deep as I can under the earth. It opened up with a Foley segment. He comes out and he hypes up the pay-per-view. He talks about the Ultimate Sacrifice match. It's 4-way. He notes that he is putting the TNA title on the line. Angle is putting his role as the head of the Mafia. And Sting is putting his career on the line. And, of course, my first thought is, these things are all equal? Foley has to put up a championship belt. Angle has to put up a fictitious role. And Sting's putting up his livelihood.
Yes.
Okay, this is all bullshit, first off. So, he said Jarrett would not be there tonight, whether it be in front of the cameras or behind the scenes. He didn't bother explaining why. I thought he was going to explain it, but no, he just started talking now about a mystery DVD in a blank case. He was being very secretive. He said it was a DVD with dark material, unsuitable for children. A secret DVD. A secret DVD that the world was talking about.
A poorly kept secret, this.
No, what do you mean? A poorly kept secret? Who was talking about this DVD?
There's also that, yes.
Who was talking about this DVD besides Mick Foley?
Well, you see, the world.
This DVD is a giant secret, yet somehow the world is talking about it. I've not heard anyone talk about this DVD.
And lest any of you think this is just Mick Foley being a heel and telling a lie, Mike TNA said they said there had been something had happened in Nashville that day. So, no, we were supposed to believe the world had been talking about this DVD.
He said he was going to go backstage and contemplate the situation with Jarrett. What situation?
We don't know.
No idea. 8 minutes, I didn't have a single idea what they were talking about. Not a single clue.
No, I don't know. I don't know. The tease was there was a DVD, it had dark, disturbing stuff, and we get to see it later. Yeah.
Cut to the Mafia.
No Kurt Angle.
Completely random bullshit. They said Kurt was in California filming a movie. Nash said the Survivor chick is willing to bankroll the group as long as we get rid of Sharmell. Now, first off, why does the Main Event Mafia need a financial backer?
I have no idea.
Wasn't the entire thing from day one that they were the rich, successful guys?
You would think so.
And the undercard guys were the poor geeks? What did they need a money backer for?
I don't know.
Not to mention the fact she won $1 million on Survivor.
And apparently that $1 million.
$1 million.
That $1 million will be enough to fund the mission these 6 wealthy people have planned.
Provided she's not spent a dime yet.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and Kevin Nash was sitting there, and except for the bright red leather pants and singlet he was wearing, he was sitting there, he was slouched over, his hair was dry again this week, dry, gray, dusty, leaning over. He looked like every old guy in every depressing dive bar I ever hung a wrestling poster in.
We had JB being sent to investigate and find out what was on Foley's DVD. Foley said, listen, I will tell you what's on the DVD if you show me how to do the bug eyes. I swear to God this is true. So, Borash is starting to do this, and then Eric Young walks in and is bitching about how he wanted an opportunity, and the best TNA could come up with a tag match last week with a mystery partner. So Foley said, fine, you get Samoa Joe later. And then he left. Then Foley went back to saying, show me the bug eyes! Show me the bug eyes, I'll show you what's on the DVD.
And Borash did.
So Borash showed him the bug eyes, and guess what happened? They cut away.
That was that.
Cut away.
Borash, by the way, was explaining...
17 minutes, by the way, into this show, and it sucks.
Borash was explaining that he had stolen the bug eyes from Don Knotts on Three's Company, a show from, I believe, the 70s, perhaps the 80s, but
late
regardless...
70s.
Yeah, but regardless, 15-year-olds don't know what he's talking about. 20-year-olds don't know what he's talking about. 25-year-olds, maybe, but a whole chunk of the audience had no clue what show he was referencing.
I presume the fans were watching all of these segments backstage. So then we get Chris Daniels versus Chris Sabin at the 20-minute mark. Alex Shelley at ringside. Lethal and Creed on the ramp. Where's Tiffany when we need her? So they have this match, and like nobody cared.
No.
It was like the first 20 minutes had so drained them with idiocy that they didn't even care about Chris fucking Daniels and Chris fucking Sabin having a match. So they have a match. Don's busy talking about how Suicide has to be Daniels, all this and that. He said the simple solution is for them both to appear on TV at the same time. Thanks for the analysis, Don. So Daniels went for the Angel's wings.
This
Sabin,
was a hell of a night for Don.
Yeah. Sabin, actually Shelley got all the way in the ring. The ref missed it. Didn't lead to the finish. Just kept going.
No.
Shelley interfered again. Got thwarted. Daniels pinned him. And with the best moonsault ever. And there you go.
It was as bad a match as Chris Sabin and Chris Daniels could have. It had absolutely zero heat. The only redeeming factor to the segment was the point the Guns did some kind of cheating. There was an eye rake or a choke, or Shelley choked him behind the ref's back or something. But they did something we've seen a million times. But then a fan holds up a sign that says, "Hey, that's cheating!" And then he put the sign back down.
Yeah.
It was perfect timing. That was great.
Foley met with Earl Hebner, Slick Johnson, and Rudy Charles in a way to just make this drag out longer. Kicked out two of the refs one by one, and then told Hebner not to disqualify Joe under any circumstances. And JB was like, "Come on, Eric will be killed." Foley said, "Too bad. This is what happens when you fuck with me."
This was a terrible segment. It opened with Slick Johnson, for some reason, displaying a strange muscle that he has in his forearm, and Mick Foley showing off his torn ear, and everyone else freaking about, "Oh, God, you guys have gross bodies." And then, I didn't even know what match they were talking about for a long time, but Foley told Slick, "You're not going to be reffing this match." And Slick's response was to pump his fist and shout yes and run off, perhaps to go golfing. I don't know. He had the night off, apparently.
He's going to go work out with the Edge Geek.
I guess he's going to go work out with the Edge Geek. And yes, eventually it was revealed that this person would be reffing the Joe match, and they did not want Joe disqualified. Because, you see, Eric Young had been whining earlier. And if they're supposed... I don't know. Mick Foley's a heel. Eric Young whines like a heel. Joe acts like a heel.
I have no idea who's
why would anyone cheer for any of these men?
It got better later in the show, by the way. So then we had a meeting with Steiner and the Survivor chick, and said she needed to lay off Sharmell, and she was acting all bitchy, saying it was Sharmell's fault. And Steiner said Sharmell had told him that she was sorry. And the Survivor chick, of course, being an airhead, totally bought this. And there was one awesome moment here where Steiner said, "Listen, what if I set up a meeting between you and Sharmell, and I will be the modifier?" And Borash, holding the mic, says, "It's moderator." And Steiner turns to him and screams, "Shut up!" I laughed.
And Borash shut up and looked away and looked down.
I laughed.
Because he is a dweeb and Scott Steiner's a scary, scary man.
But then, of course, they had to keep going with the joke till it was not so funny anymore. Which,
of course they did.
Of course, they always do. So,
yeah, no clue. They can do nothing right.
Anyway, the Survivor chick said, sure, she would do the meeting as long as he promised Sharmell would apologize.
There's one point here I want to make real quick about I forgot about this, but it's actually important because it's one of the few things that TNA ever does well. In the segment with Foley and the refs that was so awful as a segment, there was in the background of this skit, you could see the guitar stand where Jeff Jarrett always keeps his guitar. Mick Foley had taken away the guitar and had placed his barbed wire bat in the stand. A subtle little thing just to let people know he was taking over. I like that.
Blonde interviewed Angelina Love, who introduced Cute Kip. She said that Kip was going to... Actually, Kip said Kong was going to be put in her place tonight. She's going to have a stretcher match with Kip. And then he said this would be Kippin' It Real.
This would be a terrible catchphrase for about 6 billion people on the planet Earth. But for Cute Kip, I love it.
Kippin' It Real.
He's kipping it real.
So then we had a cross-the-line cam with Jeff Jarrett and his little girls. There was no explanation as to why we needed a cross-the-line cam with Jeff Jarrett. Now, the cross-the-line cam had absolutely nothing to do with Impact. It was a day in the life of Jeff Jarrett. So he's like driving around with his little girl. for, like, ever.
For a long, long time.
They were, like, in a golf cart for 10 minutes.
They went on a golf cart. They went on a jet ski thing.
He's playing friendly dad to his little child.
It sure was cute.
On and on and on and on.
We basically watched Jeff Jarrett's home movies.
Why? And I hate fucking wrestlers' kids on TV.
There's always kind of something creepy about that. But, yeah, it was, it would have been bad enough once. One long segment with Jeff and his girls. There was like 4 of them.
We'll get to the other ones later.
But yes.
Samoa Joe and Eric Young. Eric worked really hard, bumping all over the place. And then Joe choked him out. And then he put him over his shoulder, dragged him backstage, and shoved him into the trunk of a car. What is Samoa Joe?
Evil. He's an evil human being.
But is he, like, supposed to be a heel now? Because he is.
That's the only possible explanation.
I don't think he is, though. I think he's supposed to be a babyface.
And so is Eric Young, by the way.
Do they really think that he's like Steve Austin right now?
They may be
Talk
that dumb.
about having no understanding of Steve Austin's popularity or why the character worked.
They may be that dumb. So, I mentioned earlier that Don West had an amazing evening. I think it really started in this match when somebody, probably Joe, somebody hit a kick, and Don West, at the side of this kick, said, "Wow, that's like Tom Dempsey." Silence. Except Joe has 2 feet. More silence. I am the only person watching this show who got this reference. I guarantee you. And I'm going to explain it now, not because I'm proud of knowing this, but I want to point out what an obscure reference this was. Tom Dempsey was the kicker for the New Orleans Saints from like the 60s. And the deal was he was born with half a foot, so they put a special kicking shoe on there. He basically had a golf club for a leg, and he kicked like a 63-yard field goal, I think. It was the record for like 40 years. Only I know that. Me and Don West. No one else watching this show had a clue. It had nothing to do with anything. He did not explain it, and then they just moved on.
Of course.
Yes.
If this surprises you, why?
I don't know.
TNA interviewed Sting.
This sucked.
This sucked in so many ways. He's interviewing Sting. He said he was shocked that Sting had put his career on the line at Sacrifice. Sting says, well, you know, I hadn't thought about it in advance. It just seemed like the right thing to do at the time. No shit.
That was his reasoning.
You're working in TNA, and it seemed like the right thing to do to just put your whole fucking career on the line. Shocking. That actually made sense to me. If I worked in this company, I'd be thinking about putting my fucking career on the line with every single match I had. It gets better. First off, they're playing this weird music like you'd hear at a fucking massage clinic.
Of all the things to steal from SmackDown, mood music.
Yeah. So he's talking about this and that. He said being champion was worth all the pain and sacrifices. And finally he says, and today at the pay-per-view, it's all or nothing. No, it's not.
It's all or nothing.
It is a 4-way.
Or neutral.
It is all if you win. It is nothing if you are pinned. And if someone else is pinned, it's neither. This is not all or nothing.
No, it's all or nothing, or most likely neutral. Yes, and he also said...
The odds are overwhelmingly in your favor.
I guess so.
No matter what.
But he noted that his fight for respect had... The fight for respect he'd been waging for the past year had taken a setback when he lost the title to Mick Foley. Why? In what way does him losing a wrestling match to Mick Foley mean he can no longer teach these youngsters respect?
I do not know. Then we had a segment. Oh, my God.
This is amazing.
It was Taylor Wilde with the blonde getting ready to meet her blind date. I think they were at the mall. So... Now, for those of you that don't know the storyline, Taylor Wilde, a TNA superstar, has been getting messages from a mystery person. Has no idea who it is. Maybe a wrestler, maybe a fan, maybe Cody Deaner. But anyway, she's smitten by these messages. She's willing to meet this man on a blind date. First off, the complete absurdity of the storyline. So she's there in wherever this is, and I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be a babyface. But she's sitting there with the blonde going, what if he's fat?
Mm-hmm.
How shallow can you possibly be? You agreed to a blind date with a person who could very well be a fan, and you're worried he may be fat? Again, the odds are overwhelmingly against you in a situation like this.
Moreover, it just now occurred to you.
So who should show up but Daffney? Daffney starts beating her up. Daffney says, consider this our first date, leading to Monsters Ball. And who should make the save but the blonde announcer? The fucking announcer makes a save with a broken glass.
Right. Lauren was prepared to use lethal force here. She's prepared to take Daphne's life to end this beating. The cameraman, on the other hand, as the beating moved up the stairs, the cameraman moved up to follow. This was a terrible segment. All three women came off as utterly hateable. It was not believable. It was not enjoyable. It was devoid of merit.
Oh,
there are many segments like this on the show.
More with Jarrett and his daughter. Now they're driving down the road. His daughter is in the back seat not wearing a fucking seatbelt. Then they go and they pick up the other two daughters at school, and they're also driving down the road not wearing a seatbelt. Everybody, buckle your fucking kids up. Put the seatbelt on them. Maybe just in Washington where it's against the law to not have your seatbelt on. But, hello, you're driving a vehicle at high speed. There's a seatbelt there for a reason. Buckle up your fucking kids, for fuck's sake. So he starts dropping them off here and there. They're all acting cute and this and that. And this went on and on and on and on and on, adding literally nothing to the show.
They went to dance. They went to basketball. He made sure one of his girls was wearing socks. It was that kind of day.
In real life.
In real time.
No, I'm just saying, in real life.
Oh.
When would you ever see this on a program?
Certainly not in the middle of a show.
Have you ever watched a program, ever in your life, that had a scene like this?
I like this. Yes.
Where?
The sports, they will do profiles on athletes where they spend a day with them.
Yeah, but the athletes are usually doing something interesting.
That is true.
They're not riding with their kid in a fucking golf cart.
I will give you an example.
He didn't even, hold on a second. He didn't even go in and watch his daughter's dance recital.
No, he dropped her off.
It's not even like, hey, here's my fucking daughter doing the nutcracker. Look at how talented she is. He drove them from school and dropped them off.
Right.
We learned nothing.
It went like 18 minutes, yes. I will give you an example. When you were watching a UFC All Access show, for example, they're 30 minutes long. 29 of those minutes will be devoted to training, dieting, fighting, lifting weights, working out, whatever. And there'll be like 1 minute where they're goofing off with a dog or a girlfriend or the dad, some family time.
1 minute.
That's the key. 1 minute out of 30. This was 8 out of 8. And they did it multiple times in the show.
I just want to scratch my eye till it falls out, so I never have to watch this program again. Cute Kip and Awesome Kong. I'm not sure if Kip is supposed to be a woman or Kong is supposed to be a man, or if Spike does not like man-on-women violence, but a man choking a woman is okay. Anyway, Kong destroyed him. They had to distract the ref to do a nut shot. Let me repeat that. They had to distract the ref to hit a nut shot, but then she began beating the shit out of him with a chair in front of the ref, and that was okay. Mm-hmm. Don't even ask me. Don't even ask. So she destroys him. She left him laying. She Pillmanized his neck. It actually looked pretty devastating.
Stop right there for a second. She Pillmanized his neck. The Pillmanizing to the ankle is a spot where you're supposed to be out for months at a time.
Well, he's dead.
I guess this was the end of Cute Kip's career.
Yeah.
Because this is a spot that should be the end of a career.
No, I will go as far as to say, and maybe I'm nutty here, but this is the best thing on the show.
No, I would pretty much agree with that.
It was, I mean, taking away the referee bullshit, it was simple, made sense.
Sure.
Built to the pay-per-view.
Kong has
logical. She's going through the beautiful people.
She's
one
taken out
by one.
The last, the what do you call it? The last resort of
More
Cute
than
Kip.
last.
Yes.
They brought somebody back. They were so low on people. And Kong killed that person too.
Yes. So now there's only Angelina Love left all alone. So yes, I will give this segment a thumbs up.
Steiner met with Sharmell and convinced her to show up at the meeting with the Survivor chick, insisting the chick would apologize. And then after she left, JB said, well, what's going to happen when neither apologizes? Immediate cutaway.
They did not give Scott a chance to answer this question.
Got a pre-tape with Team 3D. I'm just going to read what I wrote. They were putting over the tag titles, then I blinked, and they had been laid out by some bad guys. I swear to God, between the time this attack occurred and when they cut away, no more than 5 seconds had passed.
No, that's true. No, it was very, very brief. And it was funny because they started...
let me ask you a serious question here.
Okay.
Why bother?
Well, what was the point of even airing it?
What is the point of even having this segment?
Okay. Here's what I believe happened. First of all, Team 3D started talking and it said, moments ago. And I thought to myself, it's not even really a live show. This couldn't even be fake live. It had to be moments ago. And then they were talking. The screen kind of flashed. It showed the British Invasion guys laying out 3D. We saw exactly one hit with a briefcase. Then it flashed and the British Invasion guys walked away. This one hit from a briefcase was so brutal, and I don't mean violent, I mean bad to watch, so fake, so phony, so horrible, that I assume the rest of the beating was so brutal they could not have shown any of it at all. And that is why it disappeared so quickly. Which leaves me with two questions. One you've already asked. Why show it at all? Question number two. The show is not live. Have them do the beating again, have them do it better, and air that in this place.
No. Wasn't getting any better.
There.
I can't believe how much more we have to talk about. Shut
There's
up.
a long
Shut
time.
up, please. More with Jarrett. He was at a restaurant. Then he went to leave and he ran into Borash, who was drunk and coming out of a nude karaoke bar. Again. Why?
I don't know.
Suicide and Amazing Red against the British Invasion. Semifinals of the Team 3D tournament. Suicide didn't bother going down on the zip line because every time Kazarian uses that zip line, he tears a muscle. And I guess they figured that better safe than sorry.
So they did something much, much better.
He magically appeared
the
on...
The lights went out. When they came up, he was squatting on the announce desk. Seriously, like 4 seconds passed until Don West noticed, hey, there's a masked man on my announce desk. And you saw him throw his hands up in shock. Tremendous.
That's suicide.
That's suicide, he said.
Insisted.
He almost touched his ass. He was so close.
Anyway, the best part about this was actually when Mike started talking about this day in the life of Jeff Jarrett that we've been watching all night. And Don West screams, and I quote, "A day? The longest day I've ever experienced."
Yes.
He's the greatest man around.
He was severely bored by all this Jarrett bullshit, and he was letting us all know how boring and repetitive it was. So they had this match.
Let me move forward. Machine guns hit the ring.
Yeah.
Double super kick behind the ref's back. And then Williams hit a bombs away knee drop for the pin. So it is now British Invasion versus Beer Money in the finals. After the match, the Guns destroyed the baby faces and said it was time to unmask him. Outran Lethal Consequences. I figured to make the save. Wrong. These baby faces also want to beat up and unmask this man. So the babyface heel dynamic on the show is so fucked up that I don't even care. I don't care at all. But all four people started ganging up on this guy and started to tear off his mask, and Daniels ran down to break it up, which led to another great Don West line when TNA, rather calmly in fact, was like, well, does this prove that Daniels is not suicide to you, Don? And Don's like, well, I'm sure suicide is Daniels, but I'm not sure who it is impersonating Daniels.
Yes. This was the finest moment of Don West's life when he first said, let's not jump to conclusions. He was stubborn.
Yes.
He was adamant that there's still a possibility. He wasn't sure what was going on, but he knew suicide was Chris Daniels.
This was funny.
That was
Mike TNA called him, and I quote, an idiot.
He called him an idiot. In hindsight, this was the highlight of the show, not the cute Kip Awesome Kong match. What was not the highlight of the show was the wrestling match that preceded this. They appeared to have a horrible match that they tried to save with editing and could not. Yeah. So, fucking no buys.
Time for the meeting with the Survivor chick and Sharmell with Steiner as the modifier. It immediately broke down. Steiner screamed, help. We waited all show for that.
Yes.
It went like 30 seconds. Not even 30 seconds. It went 20 seconds. Maybe. No Limit versus Kevin Nash in a handicap match. Alan Farrell, are you listening? Kevin Nash squashed Team No Limit. Squashed, squashed, squashed.
Squish, squash, squish.
Worse, He came out looking like a corpse that had been recently exhumed.
He shuffled down to the ring, lurching and slouching. I had dinner with my grandfather today in his nursing home. There were people there using walkers who are more agile than Kevin Nash.
He cut a promo afterwards, hyping up his match of the pay-per-view with Samoa Joe. The one they've been trying to do now for 2 fucking years, and something always goes wrong. Guys, it's cursed. Just stop trying. You're never going to get Joe versus Nash. And you know what?
If you do, it's going to suck.
Yes, it's not going to be any good.
Look at Kevin Nash.
Why would anybody want to see Kevin Nash and Samoa Joe?
The funny thing was they were doing this handicap match here, and I thought to myself, why are we watching this? What are any of these men doing anytime soon? And you said, well, there's Joe. And I thought, when? And then Nash cut a promo challenging Joe.
It's Joe and Nash at the pay-per-view. And why is a match taking place? It's going to be bad. Joe is going to get absolutely nothing out of beating Kevin Nash in mid-2009. Nothing. Not a single thing. And worst case scenario, it's going to make him look even worse.
I would say it would make him look worse, but he's looked so bad lately.
Then we had...
Okay, we went to an AJ promo. Mike TNA threw us to the promo when he said, very casually, AJ Styles has an important I Quit match with Booker T coming up. What?
I don't know.
It's so important, they never announced it. They just talked about it like we all knew.
I don't know.
I don't know why. I did not know AJ Styles had an I Quit match with Booker T. I don't know why it's an I Quit match. AJ he cut a promo. He said, I never quit my entire life. Great.
He said he would never say the words, I quit. Note, he just did.
He's a liar.
I bet you guys anything, the finish of this match is going to be exactly the same as Rock Foley from 1999. Bet you anything. A recording of AJ saying, I quit.
It has been 10 years.
Of course, it is 1999.
Yes.
I guarantee that's what we're going to get. So, then we had Booker T and Jethro Holiday.
The build for this I Quit match gets significantly dumber.
Booker T and Jethro in an I Quit match. A 5-minute I Quit match on television.
On free TV.
A bad one at that.
A bad one.
To make us want to pay to see another one.
That's the best part to me.
They have no idea what they're doing. It was comedy.
To make us pay for an I Quit match,
and
they
I put
give you
that
an
in
I Quit
quotation marks, comedy. We had, at one point, Holiday responded, your wife looks pretty good, thank you.
Actually, she said, your wife looks pretty good naked.
I see, naked. And
somehow this offended her.
Yeah, apparently she doesn't look good naked. So Booker hit him with an axe kick, and then Holiday muttered, I'm done. He's done, Gus. That was the end of this match.
He should have said, I'm done, Gus.
He didn't even say, I quit. He said, I'm done. And today's like, well, it's same thing.
That's exactly.
He couldn't just say, I quit.
That's exactly what happened.
Let's complicate matters.
Jethro Holiday is not a terrible wrestler, but he's one of the worst baby faces I ever saw. There's a point where he tried to clap and get the crowd to clap along. It looked like it actually caused him physical pain. And he's bad.
Don actually said it was a wise move for Holiday to say he was done because he had to know that Booker could conceivably, quote, end his life. Yeah, Booker was going to kill him. Booker was going to send him to the morgue.
He was going to introduce him to the Lord, yes.
So then, after 2 fucking hours of bullshit, the final thing on the show was the video airing of Jarrett taking us on a tour of the original asylum from 2002, showing us around. Foley snuck up behind him, started choking the shit out of him with cables, threw him into stuff, hit him with chairs. I could have sworn, and if I'm wrong, as I noted in the Ultimate Fighter review, I don't care. But I could have sworn Jeff Jarrett said, Mick, you broke my leg. Did you hear that?
I can't say I did.
You can't?
No.
Maybe I'm imagining things. I could have sworn he said that. Anyway, the point is, later they said Jeff would be back next week to get revenge. So that's a quick healing broken leg, if that's actually what he said.
I did not hear Jeff say that, but I did hear Jeff say many things, like, Mick, you've lost your mind. Mick, stop it, Mick. So over the course of this long beating...
And by the way, how does Mike TNA know he's going to be back next week?
I don't know.
He just saw a vicious beating right here.
Well, that's the thing. For all their talk about how disturbing and dark this footage was, this was every pro wrestling beatdown you have ever seen.
I disagree. I'm going to say this because this is what I thought. If this had been the final angle on a good wrestling show, I think we would have been impressed with it. But this show was so bad that when this thing aired, it was like, who could possibly care? This show killed it.
I cannot agree, because what I hated about it was that Jeff was, usually when you see the babyface beaten, they're breathing hard, maybe occasionally cursing, maybe when Ric Flair would scream at his opponent, God damn you, that kind of thing. Jeff Jarrett was, sure, he looked like he was hurt, but he was speaking complete sentences. He was trying to rationalize with Mick. He didn't seem like he was in that bad shape.
Well, he can't be. He's coming back next week. He's fine.
He's coming back next week, so he's fine. Which begs the question, why was this beating so important that he built the entire show around it?
I don't know.
This show sucked, everyone.
This show.
I apologize for being so hard on Raw this week. It was vastly superior to Impact.
Oh, God. To the back! U.S. To the back! Give me U.S. To the back! Give me USSR! There you go.
Great.
Didn't bury TNA quite enough. All right, Impact. There was good on this show.
I thought this was a fun show.
There was good and there was bad. There were a couple things that filled me with anger and rage. It was the first full Impact I've ever watched in HD. Looks awesome. I will give them that. Show opened with Suicide versus Red.
A wrestling match.
Swear to God.
I was so happy.
And a good one.
It was a damn fine match.
They had a great little match here, Suicide and Young Red. Fast-paced, fun opener. A lot of great near falls.
Yes.
Suicide pinned him with his finisher, which, of course, can't be called the assisted suicide, which would make sense. It's the Suicide Solution.
That's fine.
That's the best they could come up with.
That's a fine name for a wrestling move.
No, should have been the assisted suicide. It's just the way it should be. Come on now.
To nitpick, there was a point in here where they cut away from the match to show the Main Event Mafia arriving earlier in the day.
Yeah.
That annoyed me. Took away from the match. But, like I say, I'm very happy to see a wrestling show opening with a wrestling match, and a good one, and we only got a decent amount of time. Both guys came out looking good. So this segment gets a raving thumbs up from me.
Every time there's wrestling on the show is great.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about Impact. This match was awesome.
When they let their wrestlers wrestle.
Jeff Jarrett and Eric Young, I thought, was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Daniels and AJ Styles was the best match you could possibly have in 5 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yes.
Everything involving talking on the show, I would just like to take... I was just going to say something very, very lewd.
Let it out.
I would just like to take a part of my anatomy and shove it in a part of the anatomy of the writing crew's another part of their anatomy. That's all I need to say about this. Don't look at me like that,
You lost me
Craig.
somewhere in there.
They can suck my dick.
I see.
That good enough for you?
Now I understand.
This fucking thing with the Mafia, they came out, Angle's there looking dejected. Sting starts doing a promo. Things are going to change here in the Mafia, he says. So, first he says, we agreed not to disband this deal until we'd accomplished our goal. What is their goal?
To teach the young guys respect.
Was Sting not shaking hands with all the young guys on Sunday?
That's what I hear.
Apparently they've gotten the respect.
You would think so.
Okay, so what is the goal?
I don't know.
He didn't tell us what the goal was. So, he wanted to know if everyone had held up their end of the deal. He said Nash had allowed jealousy between Sharmell and the Survivor chick to get in the way of what they were trying to do, so he banned women from the Mafia.
Yay.
All right? Then he said Angle's private security team was unnecessary, never there for anybody else, therefore they were fired. Now, I realize I am bad at math, but there's 5 members in the Mafia. He just pissed off 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they just beat the shit out of him and kick him out of the Mafia?
Because, Brian, the winner of the match got to be the leader.
So they're forced by TNA
obligated
to stick together to break up TNA or destroy it or whatever.
They are honor bound to agree to the stipulations of the match.
This was so fucking dumb.
I don't disagree. I just don't care.
Anyway, then Joe came out and he said that one man, being Sting, could not handle 4.
This is an awesome line.
One man could not handle 4.
Which is true.
This, he said, was a job for a nation. That being the nation of violence.
Which consists entirely of...
one man.
Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
This is not... What he said was, this is not a job for one man. It requires one man.
Then he said, I have been ordered to take out the Mafia one by one, ending with Kurt. Why is he ending with Kurt? Kurt isn't even the fucking leader anymore.
Because he's still the biggest star.
Okay. And this was the end of the segment. He said he'd been ordered to kill Kurt Angle.
That's not an exaggeration. I have been ordered to kill you.
Kill. That's what he said.
Yes.
They just walked backstage.
I guess he's going to kill him later. Well, I thought, if your orders are to kill this man, why don't you just snipe him?
I'm trying to think of a mafia movie where a guy's just like walked into a bar where everyone's sitting around drinking and just said, I have been ordered to kill so-and-so, and then calmly walk out.
No one retaliates.
Sure. Everyone just sits there and then keeps drinking.
I don't know. All I know is Joe came out, I believe he was wearing jeans and some funky leather jacket. I don't know if he's losing weight or if this is a better look for him, but he looked much less fat.
JB interviewed Foley, and I will not lie, I paid no attention to this. Something about King of the Mountain qualifiers.
They were rambling about a lot of stuff earlier. The point was he booked AJ versus Daniels and Jarrett versus Young.
Team UK did a promo backstage. Boy, did they look... Well, there was something about their look that was just not right. I shouldn't say not right. I don't need an 18-page thread. Let's just move on. Doug Williams challenged anyone to a ladder match for the X Division title shot briefcase that he does not own.
He stole.
He stole it, and apparently now he owns it. Nobody in TNA has said, no, this is not yours.
Right.
He stole it, and like, no one cares.
He just has it now.
That should tell you everything. That should tell you everything you need to know about how important these briefcases really are.
This is not like Miss WrestleMania or Harley Race's crown. This is supposedly an official TNA contractually obligated deal that he just stole.
And TNA doesn't care.
No.
Lauren interviewed the Survivor chick, bitching about Sharmell. Sharmell went and attacked her. Comically hideous. This was, as we talked about earlier, horrible, but still better than what we saw in ECW, I guess. So Booker ran in to break it up.
Baby!
And as he runs in, the door's open. And if you look in the background, you can see Kevin Nash happen by. His eyes grow wide at the scene, and he backs up as if to say, I want no part of this.
Yes.
I cannot hate Kevin Nash. I just can't ever.
That was the most entertaining thing he's done in a long, long time.
Kevin Nash is one of those guys that, like, I think I talked to him once in my life. He was drunk. This was during WCW. I was talking to someone else, and they handed the phone to him, and we had a drunken conversation. I just had this feeling he's one of those guys that we would be best pals.
Well,
I just have this feeling.
You will find people who... You'll never find anyone who says he's not a nice guy.
Oh, you will.
Well,
maybe not the nice guy. But
people, some people don't like some of the maneuvers he's pulled, but no one ever says he's no fun to hang out with.
The maneuvers?
Maneuvers. You been drinking? Have I been drinking?
I have, actually.
So have I.
We both have. So Lauren was telling us to hold on because she was about to interview Sojourner Bolt. Think about this.
Frantic. Stay with me. Sojourner Bolt will be here.
Yeah.
Like it was the Pope or a Martian. So
then Stevie Richards walked in, and they had a long fucking discussion about Abyss. All I wrote was, god-awful shit, just wretched. No explanation of what it was, because I don't know, I don't care. This was like the worst soap opera bullshit you ever saw. And I can't even say that because we have a lot of people that, like, got hooked on soap operas because their wives watch them, and they happen by every now and then, or they're in the room, and the next thing you know, they're like, Christ, what happened to so-and-so? It's never like that with TNA. Oh. I do not care at all about Abyss, Lauren, and Dr. Stevie. I mean, not a shred of care in my entire being.
You have said too much about this already. I am still boycotting it.
Doug Williams and Cody Deaner in a ladder match for the X-title briefcase that Williams stole from Homicide. At least they got more than 2 minutes.
Yes.
They killed each other. I sat there and I thought, why are you fucking killing each other for a ladder match on Impact? God bless the guys, though. The finish was Deaner almost getting the briefcase, but Williams shoved the ladder over. And Deaner put his leg out, because I guess he was going to try and crotch the top rope like Shawn Michaels in the first ladder match with the Razor Ramon, or the second one, I guess it was. Was it the second one or the first one?
I think it was the first one. He crossed the first leg caught.
Anyway, his foot landed on the rope, and he slipped. And the ropes propelled him high into the air. He did a full flip. He managed to land on his feet on the floor and fly headfirst into the barricade, at which point he fell in dead man's position flat on his back. All I can say is, God, Christ is a Cody Deaner fan.
Yes.
There is no other explanation for him to be completely unharmed by what happened to him.
He should have died.
This was like Vic Grimes being thrown off the top of that fucking scaffold, missing all the tables, but landing on the ropes and doing a flip back into the ring.
Yes.
It's the same sort of thing. So, anyway, we watched this about 6 times and cackled.
Well, once we realized, first we were terrified, and then we watched it and we realized that he had actually landed on his feet, and after landing on his feet, a lot of his fall from that point was actually forward motion. He jumped to make the bump bigger. Once we knew he was perfectly fine, then it became hysterical. And we were laughing over and over and over again. They did kill each other a lot. I do like, though, Doug Williams took the safest bump off a ladder I've ever seen, where he jumped off, landed on his feet, and then rolled down to his ass. That was awesome. And the other highlight of this was just at the beginning when they were questioning Cody Deaner's wisdom in accepting this ladder match against Doug Williams. And Don West gave us all a very important message. This is why you shouldn't do crystal meth.
Yeah.
Not drinking, not weed, not even shrooms, crystal meth.
Yeah.
Which I agree with, by the way. You should not do crystal meth. But it made me laugh.
This is what I wrote. Jarrett did a promo. I was doing something else. Don't know what it was. I'm just going to be honest with you, everybody. I know some of you want me to watch every single thing on this show. I know you want me to get mad about it. I know you want me to rant and rave. I don't want to.
No.
Sometimes I'm going to choose not to watch segments.
Yes.
I don't care if you think it's my job. I run the show. I decide what my job is. My job is not to watch this Jeff Jarrett segment, for example.
Well, sadly, I did watch it and I did pay attention. And really all I know is that he bitched about Foley and Eric.
Great. Stevie was in the ring doing a promo. He called out Abyss, yelled at him for chokeslamming him on a thumbtacks, said that he needed to go back to start this therapy process all over again. He made him put on a straitjacket and then grabbed a kendo stick. Lauren ran down to make the save, which led to nothing, by the way. So then who should run through the crowd but Raven? Approximately 10 men said, "Welcome back." He stared down Stevie, then he grabbed the stick and hit Abyss repeatedly. Then they did a promo in the back, and they asked him why he did this, and he said, quote, "Because I can. This is the best they could come up with."
And so, yes, I am still boycotting this, but I must mention, I realize Don West is the heel announcer. But as TNA was appalled that Stevie was going to hit this man in a straitjacket with a stick, Don West kept insisting, it's the only way.
Yeah.
To what?
The only way to get him back in that straitjacket.
What? No, he was in the straitjacket at this point.
Oh.
Why? What is
because
this
he's a
therapy
heel.
for?
Because he's a heel.
I mean, okay, so that's why Don West said that. And that's something else that came up I may mention later, too. But why is Abyss in therapy? Why is Abyss going to a therapist who beats him?
Because he's crazy.
Why should I care?
Well, we've explained already that no one can. This is not a why. Is it possible? The answer is no.
It bothered me more than usual here.
Angelina Love and Sojo Bolt. Beautiful People's entrance in HD. Highlight of the week so far.
It was you and me and Craig watching the show, and that may have been the only 2 minutes where we were all silent.
All silent, staring at the screen. And I swear to you, I wish I had a webcam because I had just... This is going to sound horrible for those that can't see it. But I had my finger just like this. And I realized this, like, as it was almost ending.
It was on his cock, everyone.
Well... Anyway... Sojo's ass was hanging out.
Of all the people.
Yeah, and she couldn't figure this out, apparently, because her ass was out for the entire match until the end when Angelina hit her move and pulled her pants up in the process.
Yes. It was great because she was down in the corner being stomped with her ass hanging out, and then Velvet Sky noticed. Yeah. And so her response was to point and giggle and say, "Look, Ip, her ass."
Yeah.
I was at one time, Sean and I went to a WWE show, and we're sitting back in our seats, and guy goes up to the guards rail and leans down and looks over, just looking at the ring, and he had his giant plumber's butt. And the entire section is just kind of uncomfortably giggling. We're all trying to look away, but you can't because it's like a car wreck. And finally, Sean just puts his hands to his mouth and bellows, "We can see your ass." And the entire section enjoyed it. And the guy tried to act cool, by the way. Tried to not look back, but reach back and try to pull his pants up.
Sure.
That was a great moment.
Why did someone tell him to get the fuck away from the guardrail? You're blocking everyone's view with your ass.
I don't know.
Jesus. Then we had, she fired Kip for being an embarrassment, had him arrested because he was a creep. And then this is the best part. I mean, I don't want to bitch about this too much because this was like the best TNA debut in years. But she goes, I challenge anybody for my Knockouts title. I need a new hoe to knock around. As she's saying these words, conveniently, brand new music we've never heard before hits, and out comes Victoria. This was like amazing. If this were real, explain the situation to me. She cut an impromptu promo challenging anybody. Victoria was not only there, but had her music queued up.
It's
instantly.
A wacky coincidence.
So anyway, she ran out, beat up everybody, and hit Angelina with the vertebreaker. The place was going nuts. She looked awesome. This was like the best debut I can remember in so fucking long.
Yes, and it felt... We have seen every possible match of the women they had. They desperately needed a new face. They have one. This was a triumph.
We had Eric Young doing a promo saying that tonight, Jeff and everybody else would be forced to take notice of him. He guaranteed it would be a night we would never forget.
He said repeatedly that they had called on him in case of emergency. He had delivered in pay-per-view main events, and then he was always forgotten again, which is totally true. Borash interviewed Machine Guns and Lethal Consequences. They all hate suicide. They've teamed up to figure out who he is. All right? It was a fun promo, and I realized the Machine Guns gimmick is that they're basically snarky teenagers, but they look like goofs here in Dockers and T-shirts and their tag belts. Dress better, you guys. Come on.
All right. Foley came out for a promo. This was the other talking segment that made me so mad. Foley comes out, and he's doing this promo about something. He's doing a promo about this latest angle they've come up with that they understand, but no one else does. Some secret meeting in Nashville or some such bullshit. So, anyway, he explains that next week it's Samoa Joe versus Nash in a cage. So, by the way, to digress here for a moment, Joe beat Nash clean in the middle of the ring with his move.
With his finisher.
On pay-per-view.
Right.
This builds to a cage match for free on TV.
Maybe it's a Samoan thing, because we saw Umaga do the same thing to CM Punk. Beat him clean with his finisher and then challenge him to a strap match.
Then, he starts bitching that TNA management has put him in the King of the Mountain match, and he has to defend his title. Who is this TNA management?
I believe
Mick Foley is the majority shareholder.
Yes.
Who is above him?
They have
These people, this mysterious TNA management, has so much power that they can force the majority shareholder to defend his title at a pay-per-view when he does not want to. Okay, fine. Fine. There's a mysterious person that can do this, that has the power to say, you must wrestle this match, you, the majority shareholder, do not want to wrestle. Fine. Then he starts talking about how, for the good of TNA, he needs to be the champion forever. How is he going to do that? He's going to do that by only defending the title once a year.
That's his plan.
So, Foley has the power to not wrestle any title matches for a full year.
Mm.
Where's TNA management?
But he can't. Yes, he can choose to go a year between title defenses, but he cannot get himself out of this King of the Mountain match.
This was so fucking stupid.
This does not make any sense.
They always have to have somebody who's even higher than whoever they've got.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett is the owner, the founder of the company. Mm-hmm. Mick Foley is the majority shareholder. Mm-hmm. There's now mysterious people above them.
Sure.
Who? Obama?
Whoever. That would distress me. Barack Obama was booking TNA.
Maybe he is. I don't know. There's always someone higher than them. God, this was stupid. So then, AJ and Daniels did a match or an interview, and said they were going to have a good match tonight. Blah blah blah. Joe came up. AJ blew him off, and Joe apologized and said that he was okay in the head now. He wanted to get back to the way things used to be.
Then why are you still drawing a penis on your face?
Why are you still threatening to kill men if you're okay in the head?
I did watch you threaten murder 90 minutes prior.
Oh, this fucking show. Then we had Jarrett and Eric Young, King of the Mountain qualifier. I like this match. A good, fun, fast-paced TV match.
Correct.
2 thumbs up.
Correct on all counts.
Just fucking wrestle all the time, for Christ's sake.
Yes.
So they do this match. Jeff wins, and then Eric, offers his hand.
Sure. He had been beaten, and he's willing to shake his hand and say, okay, Jeff, tonight you were the better man.
So Jarrett starts looking around at the people, should I shake his hand? Why? This is like if me and Craig had a match, and he offers his hand. Am I supposed to not all of a sudden trust Craig? Why did Jeff Jarrett not trust Eric Young? They've been friends for 5 years.
I guess.
So anyway, he shook his hand and got beaten up. So he was right in the end. But still.
All I know is he accepted the handshake, and they drew it out forever. He finally accepted the handshake. Then he wanted to bring Eric back for a hug, and I kept thinking, you wrestled 3 minutes. It's not like you just main evented Mania with this. You had a fun, short TV match.
Well, 3 minutes on Impact is almost their WrestleMania. Let's actually find out how long that match is, because I have the times right here.
All right.
3 minutes and 21 seconds.
Oh, I apologize. He wrestled free and a little bit more.
Then we had Team 3D in the ring with 2 trofeos, an oversized check for $100,000, and beer money. And they gave them their prizes and said that... What was the exact line?
You win the trophies, the $100,000 check, and most importantly, a shot at the TNA tag belts.
That's more important than $100,000?
Well, to be fair, Brian, the $100,000 would be split 2 ways.
Oh, yeah, they had a giant oversized check that said, and I quote, James Storm and Robert Roode.
Right.
Try taking that to the bank.
Uh-huh.
So, I'll just say I'd take the $100,000.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about the belts.
That being said, everything else about the segment was awesome. Fans love both teams.
I guess they're all baby faces now. This is a mystery.
Beer money is now baby. Well, they saved them last week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yes, that was Beer Money's face turn. They're heroes now. The fans love them. 3D.
Why don't I believe this? Well, not that it happened, but why do I not believe that they're baby faces?
No, because it's TNA and there'll be a swerve down the road.
Okay.
But for right this second, they're baby faces. But, yes, they led the fans in chance of beer money, and they handed the check to Storm, and the fans chanted, that's a lot of beer. That's a lot of beer. Mm. That made Storm happy. Then he drank beer from a cup, and they all partied together, and then it ended.
Yeah. No one turned on anybody.
No, it was so simple. It was great. And it was a capper on the whole tournament that made the whole thing seem important and fun. So, a giant thumbs up for this segment.
And the main event was great. AJ Daniels, King of the Mountain qualifier. Ended up with AJ getting the win. 5 minutes and 10 seconds, because, of course, they had to have a giant commercial break right in the middle of the main event, because this wrestling bullshit on the show is just a distraction. It distracts you from the good stuff, which is the writing. So, they do this little match.
It's funny that they really think that.
Yeah. So, Daniels went for the Angel's Wings. AJ turned into Hurricane Rana. And it was awesome.
Yeah, there's no point in recapping it move by move. They did a bunch of awesome stuff, and it was not just a bunch of awesome stuff for stuff's sake. There was actual good wrestling going on too.
It can almost even make you angry. There's the potential for such greatness on Impact, but we usually get such bullshit. But I'm not going to go into this.
So many years over being angry about it. I'm just happy when I get to see it.
All I'm going to say is that my DVR cut out, of course, because I guess they've got an overrun now. I was unaware of this, but they do. So, the last thing I saw on this show is after this awesome, awesome match, a portly man came through the crowd.
Wasn't me.
Apparently it was Shane Douglas going to attack Chris Daniels. I just saw AJ Styles and Chris Daniels have an awesome match. And that is leading to Chris Daniels versus Shane Douglas, the school teacher?
Sure.
I was so glad the DVR cut out. That made me happy. I hope that when it cut out, that meant the angle never happened.
Perhaps all that happened was Shane Douglas approached Daniels, asked for an autograph, said thank you, and then left.
He could have. Maybe Chris Daniels' son got an A in history.
Yes.
And Shane Douglas was going to alert him in front of a national audience.
And applaud him for raising such a fine young lad.
Sure. Any of these things could have happened, but sadly they did not. So anyway, that's Impact. I will give it a thumb in the middle.
I will go thumbs up. I enjoyed the good stuff more than I hated the bad stuff.
I can't grade on such a curve. This was a thumbs in the middle program. Thumbs in the middle. Check it out for the wrestling. Please, for the love of God, avoid everything else. And you'll be a happy man. And all those things I skipped, you don't need to watch them. Just take my